What's up, everybody? Thanks for stopping by the channel. Today I'm going to be doing probably not a short video here, but I'm going to be doing a video on concealed carry, and this is specifically kind of geared towards people that don't normally carry, or maybe even a first-time firearm owner that is considering to buy for concealed carry purposes. There's a lot of videos on the internet, especially YouTube, YouTube Gunfighters Association. Kidding. There's a lot of different videos out there on people's recommendations on what to carry and what not to carry, what gun to buy, what gun not to buy, and all that. And I don't want to take anything away from any of that, but I've got my own opinions on that, and I wanted to put together a little video here for some of you that might find that information useful, and go from there. So I broke it down into a couple different categories, and I've got a little sheet here with my information on it. But there's a lot of recommendations on size, and I think the general consensus is, at least according to YouTube, is that something like a Glock 19C, a Glock 19. This one is a Glock 19C with the cutouts here, but the Glock 19 is one of the highest recommended firearms for defensive carry, bar none. It works. It's reliable, and this is my personal carry, one of my personal carries. And it really is just a great gun. It seems to have all the right ergonomics. It has great grip, 9mm. It's big enough to put a light on it if you want it, but again, you don't have to have that. That's just my personal preference. We'll talk about lights here in a little bit, but it's a great gun, great first gun, or if you're intending to carry for the first time, this would be a great recommendation. But as great as it is, I know that there are a lot of other choices out there. There's a lot of other guns. Glock is not the only manufacturer, and really what you really need to do is, before you buy, my recommendation would be to go to one of the gun stores that you have in your local area, and preferably one that you can shoot at. So like here in Arizona, we have a couple. We could go and get your hands on that firearm, actually use it, see what the recoil feels like, see how the ergonomics actually work, not just picking it up and holding it, but actually using it, shooting at a target and just getting used to it before you buy. So kind of a try before you buy. If you have that ability to do that, highly recommend you do that before you waste your money on a gun and then find out that you don't really like it, or whatever the case is. Maybe it doesn't fit right. Maybe you've got those little Burger King hands, those little tiny little hands, and you can't grip a double stack mag gun, or whatever the case is. Or maybe you've got giant hands and Glock 19 is too small for you. Whatever the case is, the point is, if you have the ability to go and try before you buy, definitely do that, and pick the gun store owner or the personnel behind the counter. Ask them what some of their top selling guns are, what kind of customer feedback did they get on certain firearms, and just do some research on it. Really, don't use the internet as your only guide. Even this video, I'm going to give you my opinion, but it's not intended for you to just you take it as gospel and go out and buy whatever gun I say, or anybody else. Take that as it may. The other thing is that you're going to hear a lot of is polymer guns versus metal guns. A Glock 19 or any Glock really is a polymer gun. So if you don't like plastic, if you intend to modify this and do some stippling, that's great. But some people don't like this. Some people like to basically have a full metal frame, and that's fine. You can totally do that. 1911s would be a great choice. HKs, a lot of SIGs are full, full metal frames. That's great. When you're when you're talking about a metal frame, you're also talking about adding a lot of weight. So again, it really is going to depend on what you're going to be doing with that firearm. If you're going to be carrying this on a day-to-day basis, my recommendation is you probably don't want to go with a totally heavy gun. Sorry about that. Right in the middle of me shooting a video, I get a phone call, of course. But back to what I was saying, the issue of weight. If you're going to get a full metal frame, the gun is going to be heavy, and that's going to be uncomfortable to wear. It's going to be it could potentially cause issues with your belt if you don't have the appropriate belt to wear with this. It's going to have to be a stiff, sturdy belt, basically a gun belt for the most part, which I would recommend anyway if you're going to be carrying, but that's a whole nother issue. But for those of you that, if you're just getting into firearms and you're just getting into that EDC life, carrying a full metal framed gun, it's going to be heavy. Plus, you got to remember, depending on what type of gun you get, you got to put a mag in there, and that's adding additional weight. If you're going to get something that is 14, 15, 16, 17 round capacity, and it's got a metal frame, that's going to be one heavy piece. And I can just tell you, you're not going to want to wear that around for a long time, and that could cause you to basically put that gun into the safe, and you might not see it unless you hit range days or something like that. So just something to think about. Weight is a big factor in any kind of EDC capacity, whether it's gun, knives, flashlights, whatever. So I would definitely put weight at the top of the list in terms of items to think about when you're purchasing your firearm for daily carry. The other thing that you're going to hear probably this is the most you're going to hear about is caliber. And this is where the internet comment section blows up and everyone loses their mind. There's a lot of opinions on this. I am of the opinion that 9mm is the way to go. There's a reason why most of the pros are going to 9mm. And honestly, you guys, whether it's 380, 9mm, 40, 45, the ballistics differences between these rounds are so minute that it's really not even worth having like a whole ballistics discussion on it. But I'll break it down in the easiest layman's terms possible. A firearm chambered in 9mm is going to have minimal recoil to like a 40 or a 45, right? So what that means is basically just going to be a lot easier on the shooter. It's going to be a lot easier to do follow-up shots because your sight picture is not going to be all jacked up from the recoil. And also, you have to think about something else. 9mm is very much available. It's not very expensive. And like I said, the ballistics on that are just proven that it's a great caliber round for newbie shooters to professional shooters in 3-gun matches, which oddly enough, a lot of those guys are shooting 9mm, and I think there's a reason for that. So definitely something to think about is your caliber. 40 caliber, I would not go with that. Just because it is a very poppy round, and I personally just don't like it. 45 ACP, you're going to hear a lot of the 1911 guys come out of the woodwork and say that that's the only round to go with, and if you're not shooting 45 ACP, that you're just a big pussy. And the reality is that, hey, I'm not trying to blow up mountains, I'm not trying to destroy small towns, so I don't really need to shoot a 45. Just kidding. That was an inside joke, but really, 45 ACP is great for 1911. But honestly, there's a lot of issues with that round. And when you're using a gun that's chambered in that caliber for daily carry, you're also limiting yourself. Well, you could be limiting yourself because again, that gun is most likely going to be a 1911. It's most likely going to be heavy. And this is leading into the next topic, which is capacity. For whatever reason, the same people that recommend a 45, typically the 1911 crowd, are also the same people that tell you to never buy a revolver for daily carry, which is stupid because they both carry low capacity rounds, or they both only allow for a low capacity of rounds. So 1911s, you're looking at seven plus one in the chamber, whereas revolvers you can get 7, depending on what it is you're buying. This right here is a Ruger SP101. It's actually chambered in 9mm. So for those of you that want a smaller gun that is very easily concealable, this is definitely something you're going to want to look into. It is heavy, considering, but it is a smaller frame, so it's not that heavy. I would say it's pretty comparable to something like this. It's actually quite a bit heavier, but it is comparable. You're talking about a very much smaller gun, but you'll be able to, at least in my opinion, in my experience, you'll be able to conceal this a lot easier. I've been carrying this gun for probably the last five months now, and I absolutely love it. It's a great gun to have. It's very reliable. I love my Glock. My Glock is extremely reliable. But the Glock is a little bit harder to conceal with the way that I carry, which goes into the next topic, which is where are you going to conceal? Where are you going to carry? If you carry appendix style, which is what I do, which is basically you're carrying the pistol right here into your pants, like so. Okay. It does make it a little bit more difficult to when you have a semi-auto that is the size of a Glock, Glock 19, Glock 17. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to conceal depending on the type of clothing that you wear. If you're rolling with something like a Glock 26, which is essentially this with a shorter barrel and shorter grip, that might be doable, but again, you're going with a smaller frame, and depending on your hands and depending on your ergonomic needs, that might not be a good fit for you. But anyway, so something like a Glock is going to be a little bit more difficult to conceal than something like that Ruger SP101. But if you're comparing to something like this to a 1911, forget about it. I can conceal this with a light, appendix style, a hell of a lot easier than I would be able to conceal a 1911, full-size 1911. They do make compact 1911s, and those are great. But again, if you're really worried about capacity as far as how many rounds it carries, now you're even in a worse situation. So just something to think about. So concealability, I prefer appendix carry. There's other friends that I have that carry at on their side at the 3 or 4 o'clock. There's some people that might carry it on their back, on the right above their butt, basically. Totally up to you how you want to carry it. I would say however you carry, you want to train that way. So if you're carrying appendix, that's great. Be safe about it. Choose the right pistol. Choose the right holster, which is going to be, if you're using a Glock, something like this would be great. This was made by a buddy of mine at Sierra 12 Defensive Studies Group. So he custom made a Kydex holster for this gun with this TLR light, stream light, and this is a TLR 3, and it's perfect fit. It's got a nice clip on the back here, and essentially this is a you can use this type of holster for an appendix carry. You could use it to carry it on your side, however you want. but definitely want to make sure that whatever gun you get, if you're going to be using it on a day-to-day basis, you absolutely need to carry the right holster for it as well. Please do not be like the overweight guy walking around in Walmart with a, well, you can't even, I guess you can't even do that now since Walmart doesn't allow you to carry guns. But back, back in the day, I guess, I would see these guys walking around open carrying with a really shitty Velcro holster, and the gun was basically just hanging off their side. Don't be like that. It's not smart, and you're not scoring any cool points with that. If anything, you're actually putting yourself in more danger, because now if there is a bad guy in that store or wherever it is that you're at, you're the one that they're looking at, because now you're a potential target. If you're able to carry concealed, go concealed. If you're not comfortable with it, get trained. Go to somebody that teaches somebody CCW classes, and start practicing safely with your setup, so that you can familiarize yourself with it. Be smart. So I really want you to think about how you're going to carry, where you're going to carry on your body. If it's appendix, great. Definitely train that way, because there are some risks, some additional risks with that, with drawing your weapon out. You don't want to shoot your bits off. So definitely practice with that safely. No rounds in the gun, no magazine, and start drawing from that. And for ladies, if you're wearing tight clothing and you really can't carry because you're going to print too much, or it just doesn't work for you, there are a ton of purses out there that will allow you to carry a pistol in them safely. So I would say hit up the internet on that. I don't know of any companies off the top of my head, because I'm not a lady, but there's a bunch of them out there. So definitely be smart about your choices there. Quality above everything. The other thing you're going to see a lot on the internet is, when you get into firearms, you're going to see that everybody is really concerned about gear, especially the more seasoned people. Really, they just love gear. And what I mean by gear is, flashlights for your pistol. You've got upgraded sights. Glock sights are totally fine. Stock, I believe I've got True Glows on these, on this one here. But on another Glock that I had Trigicon sights on them. Those are great. I personally prefer them a little bit better. But my point with this is don't feel like you have to keep spending a whole lot of money just to keep up with other people and their weapon choices. If a Glock works for you and the stock sights work, then great. Don't worry about it. We're not trying to keep up with the Joneses here. This is your defensive weapon. It doesn't matter what somebody else has. Okay? So if you want to put a light on it, put a light on it. Train with that light. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you understand how to engage it. How are you going to use it? All of the things that you add on to your weapon should be things that help you better determine targets, which is why I carry a light on mine at night. But I would definitely stay away from custom engraved slides that have logos on it that would not look good in the event that you ever have to actually use this weapon and it gets confiscated and brought into a courtroom. You get what I'm saying? So don't put little hash marks on here, for your kills and things like that. Don't be stupid, basically. Don't be that guy. OEM is totally fine. Glock makes a great pistol. Actually, any of these guns, same thing with a revolver. There's not really a whole lot of modifications you're going to be able to do to this outside of a better grip. I believe this has a Pachmeyer grip on it, so this is not the stock grip, but the stock grip was really not great. You felt every bit of recoil, and there was not really a good purchase on it, in my opinion, for my hands. But other than that, that's pretty much all I'm going to do on this. There's nothing is going to make you shoot better unless you actually practice it. So putting a new sight on it, coating your gun, putting new grips on it, none of it is going to make you a better shooter unless you actually train with that firearm in that specific configuration. So my recommendation is just keep the bling level low and familiarize yourself with the weapon, especially for newbies that are just getting into this. You have to take baby steps before you can start running, okay? So again, with the bling and the accessories, what is the purpose of your firearm? Is it going to be a concealed carry gun that you're wearing every day? You're going to want to keep it low. You're going to want to keep your accessories and your bling probably to a minimum. If it's a gun that you're going to be using for a house gun, then whatever, right? Let's see. So the other thing is the gun belt issue. So I know I talked very briefly about this before, but you are definitely going to want, if you're carrying on a day-to-day basis, and especially if you're carrying an appendix style up front, you are going to want an actual gun belt. Using a Macy's belt or some belt you got from Ross, it is probably not going to be sufficient to handle the weight and the stress of that firearm pulling down on you. The other thing here, let me show you something. So picture this fully, you've got a full mag in here, you've got the weight of that. That's just the firearm. If you're like me and you want to carry an extra mag and maybe a flashlight, you're going to want room and a belt to be able to handle both of these. So when I carry this Glock, I carry an extra mag and I carry my flashlight. And even though I've got a flashlight here, it's just something that I do, it's just how I normally carry. There are some holsters that have these two pieces connected and it's all one unit. That's great. I personally don't like that. I like a little bit more flexibility. If I want to carry this and not this stuff, then I can do that. But the whole point here is that you need a belt that's going to be able to withstand the weight, and you want it to hold up over time. So that's definitely something you're going to need to think about, regardless of what type of gun it is, whether it's a revolver, a Glock, a 1911, a bazooka, whatever it is that you're going to get. You need to make sure that you're really, really thinking about everything. So it is a complete package. Once you start to carry a firearm on a day-to-day basis, you're going to start to realize that it's a lifestyle. So everything else that you wear and that you do needs to kind of revolve around that. So belt is just one more very important piece to that puzzle. And I believe that is pretty much it. Hopefully this helped some of you that are, thinking about carrying. This wasn't really in any specific order. It's just some notes that I had taken from watching some other people's videos on YouTube, and I feel like they left out some things. So again, if you're planning on buying a firearm for daily carry, know the laws and get the right gear for your complete setup. So the right pistol or the right firearm for you, the right holster for that pistol based on however you intend to carry it, and then a quality belt system that's going to be able to support that additional weight, and also depending on the way you're carrying it. So I guess that's enough for now. Keep it simple. And hopefully this helped some of you out there. If it did, great. Please do me a favor. I'm trying to build this channel up, so it's a brand new channel, and I'm still kind of new to the whole YouTube thing. So I'm a writer by trade, so I'm kind of transitioning into a new medium. So do me a favor, if you liked the video or if you didn't like the video, drop some comments. Hitting the subscribe button and hitting the bell button would really, really help me out, help me grow the channel. And if you have any recommendations on any year you'd like me to review, or any other topics that you'd like me to talk about, put them in the comments, and I'll take a look at it, and we'll go from there. But for now, I've got nothing else. So until the next video, see you guys later.